Hello friends. In my last video, I spoke about the unfortunate demise of Mr. Cyrus Mistry and shared some startling statistics related to a report released in 2019 which suggested 9 out of 10 Indians do not wear seat belts on the back seat of the car. As promised in that video, today we talk about what could have led to this behavior setting in where people do not use seat belts in the rear seat of the car. The Indian consumer is known to be a value for money seeker, is considered to be a tough negotiator or a bargainer, and is believed to be extracting every possible mileage out of the last paisa spent on a particular product or a service. So then what's the reason that in spite of paying for those seat belts, consumers in India do not use it? When I looked at this problem from a marketeer's point of view, I realized that this has to do with consumer behavior. How and why this habit has got set of not wearing the seatbelt while sitting on the back seat of the car, and what could have been the reasons that could have led to this. As marketers, we all know how difficult it is to either establish or change a consumer behavior, a consumer habit. So it will be quite interesting to see what measures the government and the enforcement agencies come out with to solve this problem. I think there are three catalysts or conditions that have led to setting up of this behavior. I call them the IPC: infrastructural challenges, population load, and corruption. First, infrastructural challenges. The quality of road infrastructure has improved dramatically over the last 10-15 years. Today, we are quite used to traveling in 6-lane highways of international quality, crisscrossing states and the country. But this wasn't the situation about 15-20 years ago. Most of the national highways, state highways, and roads within the city were poorly constructed, poorly maintained, and mostly encroached. So even if you're traveling on a national highway in your own car, chances were that you're not traveling at more than 40-50 kilometers an hour, because that is what those road conditions would have permitted you. And when you are traveling at that speed, you inherently do not feel the need for any kind of safety measures, especially when you're sitting on the back seat of the car. At those speeds, chances of a fatal injury were probably not as high. And therefore, as consumers sitting on the backseat of the car, people were lax about this and did not feel the need for wearing those seat belts on the backseat of the car. And hence, over a period of time, this behavior got set in. The second aspect of infrastructural challenge has been the sheer volume of cars on road. About 15-20 years ago, we didn't have so many four-wheelers plying on our highways. We mostly had only heavy commercial vehicles and some private vehicles plying on those roads. And so with improved road infrastructure and having a latest car, lot many more Indians today are traveling in their own vehicle. And the third aspect related to this has been the quality of vehicles themselves. So lack of this infrastructure for a long period of time probably developed this habit in Indian consumers to not really consider wearing a seat belt as a necessity. And if you're traveling within the city with our road infrastructure and the congestion that existed, you probably were traveling at even lesser speed of 20 to 30 kilometers an hour, even while sitting in a car. And therefore, the need to buckle yourself up on the backseat of the car was even lesser. This is how I think infrastructural challenges contributed to setting of this behavior. The second catalyst has been population load. You see, Indian families typically are larger in size than their Western counterparts. Cars have often been designed for sitting of 4 people in case of a normal sedan or a hatchback, but Indian family size has been much larger, and therefore the needs have been very different. Typically, a sedan or a hatchback comes with 3 seat belts on the back seat of the car, but you would often see 4 to 5 people sitting on the back seat of the car when a family is traveling together. And this is a very practical problem to solve. This, I think, has been the second catalyst of setting up of this behavior. And the third condition and catalyst, to my mind, has been corruption. And there are 2 aspects to that. The first one is moral corruption, and the second one is corruption as a way of getting out of a situation. You see, when it comes to moral corruption, how often do we see our VIPs, people with larger means, people with power, people with influence, flouting rules around us left, right, and center? There's almost a sense of pride, a sense of entitlement associated with flouting of rules. You do not want to stand in a queue. You want to zip through toll tax plazas without paying taxes because you are a VIP. So what happens when a society sees these things happening around them? They associate flouting of rules with power, with a sense of pride. This culture of entitlement, to to me, has been one of the biggest reasons why we do not have, in general, a respect for processes and rules. The second aspect of this corruption has been corruption as a way of getting out of a tricky situation. How often, when we get caught violating a rule, do we try to bribe our way through it and succeed? So therefore, this belief that even if I'm flouting a rule and I get caught, I'll pay a bit and I move on, also leads to being lax about following these rules. So friends, to me, the IPC, infrastructural problems, population load, and corruption have been prime factors in us not following this rule of wearing seatbelt on the backseat of the car. What else do you think could have contributed to this peculiar behavior of not following this rule? Do write into me and follow me as Guru Prasun on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook.